I've seen professionals come up with all kinds of crazy strategies and tricks to try to get promoted quicker, whether that's working late nights, working weekends, taking on every project under the sun, or even trying to sabotage others in an attempt to knock them off the throne and obtain their own promotion. The reality of the situation is there are two key things that are really going to help you get promoted. And in this video, we are going to explore the formula for promotion that is going to fast track your way to new heights on the corporate ladder. Let's dive into it. The formula is painfully simple. Value plus visibility equals promotion. And I want you to think about the last time that you purchased a subscription. Before you purchased that subscription, you first had to become aware of the subscription service. You had to have visibility into it enough to understand the value that that subscription would add to your life. You had to understand, how is that subscription going to make my life easier? What is it going to help me accomplish? And so I want you to think back to the first time that you may have subscribed to Netflix, for example. First, you had to become aware of Netflix as a brand, as a service. And then you had to quickly understand, well, if I purchase Netflix for the low price of X number of dollars per month, what is the value that it's going to bring me? And you probably quickly understood that you would gain access to TV shows and movies that you'd probably otherwise have a hard time finding. And so only once you understood what the value was and gained that visibility into Netflix as a service that you could make a purchasing decision. But there are two other very interesting and key dynamics at play here that I want to point out. And the first is that before you even purchase Netflix as a subscription, you probably already understood that Netflix was not going to give you access to all the TV shows and movies that have ever been filmed. Also, once you gained visibility, there was already a value proposition. So once you learned about Netflix, you understood that the value had already been created. The catalog already existed. And so I want you to think about these two dynamics in relation to your career journey and your pursuit of a promotion. First, you have to be valuable. You have to create value to your stakeholders, so that when they gain visibility into who you are and into your professional brand, they can understand the value that you bring, and only then, knowing those two things, can they consider you for a promotion. But thinking about those other dynamics, there's also something else interesting that I want to point out here, which is, in order to create value, you don't have to do everything. You just have to do the vital few things exceptionally well. Just like Netflix doesn't have to offer you the macrocosm of all movies and TV shows that have ever been created. They just have to offer you a good catalog and a subset of everything that has ever been produced. And the value has to precede the visibility. You have to already be performing in your role. You have to already be adding value to the business before you go on the journey of getting eyes on the work that you're doing and on your professional brand. Otherwise, you won't be considered for promotion along the same timeline. And when it comes to value, you have to understand that, like beauty, value is in the eye of the beholder. And so there are two key things that you need to understand when it comes to enhancing your value proposition. Number one is, who are the key recipients of the value I'm creating and of the work that I'm doing? And the second thing is, what do they actually view as valuable? So let's tackle the first one. Who is at the receiving end? Let's take an example and say that you are in charge of creating a weekly report that you send to your manager. Maybe this is providing data analysis on how one of the products in the company is performing. Well, the questions that you want to ask here are, okay, yes, I'm delivering this report to my manager, so they are one of my key stakeholders. But who is my manager sharing this information with? How are they ingesting that information, and what are they using it to do? Maybe they're using that data analysis to make future decisions on product development and what features they want to create. Well, that's great, but who do they then go to and share that decision with? How do they justify it to the team that's going to need to actually go and develop that feature? Well, now you're starting to understand that your key stakeholder group is much broader than your manager and who your manager is sharing that information with. So you want to understand how the output of your work is reverberating throughout the company. Now, let's take a look at that second question, which is, what do they actually view as valuable? Well, once you've mapped out who are the key recipients of the value you are creating, now you can go and interview them. This is the easiest and quickest way. Get a one-to-one meeting on the calendar with some of the key stakeholders across those multiple different groups and ask them how they perceive the work that you're doing. Ask them how they think your work could be more valuable and make the business process and model more efficient. This is going to help you lock down and enhance your value proposition. The second part of this equation is visibility. And so you need to identify who is involved in making promotion decisions and who is in a position of influence for those decision makers. A common misconception that a lot of professionals have is that their manager is the sole decider of who gets a promotion on the team. But the reality is that promotion and compensation budgets are set at the leadership level and then trickle all the way down throughout the company to the individual contributor level. So you need to identify at least 5 people in a leadership position, in a position of influence for those decision makers, who can become advocates of the work that you do once you've solidified your value proposition and given them visibility into your work. Well, how do you do this? Let's say, for example, that you are a program manager who sits on a strategy and operations team, and the work that you do is centered around working with engineers to develop new products or features. And every week you deliver a report to the product team on how the engineering team is doing and how long we have until those new features and products are ready to ship to the market. Well, right there you have about 5 key stakeholders, right? Number one, you have your manager, who is always going to be a key stakeholder in the promotion decision-making process. But you also have your manager's manager, who is higher in the leadership chain of the strategy and operations team. And this is an important person to have on your side, because if your manager is not advocating for you, you are getting in front of your manager's manager and making your value proposition known, but also your manager's manager can continue to run your value proposition up the leadership chain, which is always a positive thing. But you also have leadership within the engineering team that you work with on a daily basis, because you are partnering with that leadership team's working team in order to make the company successful and get these features developed on time. Not only that, but you are sending information to the product team. And so there may be a stakeholder in the product leadership team who can become an advocate for the value that you bring and the work that you do. So really what you want to understand here is identify those key people who are decision makers in the promotion process or who have influence over it, and engineer a path to gaining visibility. Alright, so hopefully this video was valuable. I wanted to walk you through the mental model and strategy behind optimizing your career path and your work for promotion. Obviously, there are other tactical steps you want to take, like having a conversation with your manager to ensure the two of you are aligned on your definition of success for the role. If you want me to dive into some of those other tactical things you need to do in order to lock down that promotion, make sure that you smash the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can become apprised of new content as it does drop weekly. Listen, a career is a long journey to sojourn without a guide. So if you don't believe that you can do better, I'm here to make sure you know better. Upskill professionals, helping you forge a path upward.